Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raguna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीन बंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवारि पाश्चात्यरशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासारि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण विष्णु प्रभु तंदर प्रणाम जय श्री प्रभु Okay, so we continue from text 38. After the rainy season, the farmers begin to rebuild the partitioning walls of the paddy fields so that the water will be conserved, just as yogis try to use their conserved energy for self-realization. The living being is the marginal energy of the absolute personality of Godhead, and he can spend his conserved energy either externally or internally. When spent internally, the energy is identified with the internal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the same conserved energy, when spent for his external energy, is identified with that external energy. All energies, internal, external, and marginal, are emanations from him, the Supreme, and they act differently to prove diversity in unity. The unity is the Lord, and the energies represent diversity. The Lord is so powerful that he can do anything and everything merely by his sweet will alone. As mentioned above, everything is done by his energies in a natural way, with full knowledge and complete perfection. That is the information we have from the Vedic literatures. The internal energy and the marginal energy are of the same superior quality, but the external energy is inferior in quality. That is the information we have from the Bhagavad Gita. Because the living entity is classified as marginal energy and is of the same quality as the internal energy, it is quite natural for him to cooperate with the internal energy. But when the living entity prefers to cooperate with the external energy, he is put into difficulty by the process called pratyahara, diversion. Yoga diverts or energies from external to internal. The energy of our senses is meant to be diverted, not stopped. The senses are to be purified so that they serve the Lord instead of disturbing his settled harmony. The entire cosmic harmony is a settled fact by the will of the Supreme. So we must find the Supreme will in every action of the cosmic situation. That is the instruction of the Ishopanishad. The human life is an opportunity to understand this cosmic harmony, and therefore our conserved energy, which is likened to the conserved water in the paddy field, must be used for this purpose only. As there is no chance of rain from the sky in autumn, we shall not immediately have a chance to get a human body again if we spend our conserved energy for sense enjoyment. The senses have their utility for the service of the Lord, and if properly engaged, they can reach the highest perfection of being directly engaged in the service of the Lord, in his personal presence. When the living entity thus goes back home, back to Godhead, and engages in the personal service of the Lord, he is said to have attained Samsiddhi Parama, the highest perfection. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam asasvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. After attaining me, the great souls, who are yogis in devotion, never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Bhagavad Gita 8:15. Very ball. Okay, next one. In the autumn, there is a gulf of difference between the day and nights. During the day, the extreme heat of the sun is unbearable, but at the night, the moonlight is extremely soothing and refreshing. Similarly, Lord Sri Krishna is soothing for both the gopis and the mundane man in illusion, who accepts the body as the soul. As long as the living being under illusion accepts the body or the mind as the soul, he will always be unhappy, like a man in the burning heat of autumn. But when the same living being becomes a devotee of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, he at once lives a shooting life, as if under the cooling rays of the moon in autumn. Lord Sri Krishna is so merciful that he descends to reclaim suffering humanity and preaches the Bhagavad Gita with the intense desire that all living beings give up all their engagements and shelter of his lotus feet, and take shelter of his lotus feet. This is the most confidential part of all revealed scripture. The example of the damsels of Raja Bhumi Vrindavan, the gopis, is given here because these external consorts of the Lord terribly suffered the separation of Lord Krishna when the Lord was absent from their presence for his engagement in tending cows in the forest. During the absence of Krishna, the entire day would appear to the gopis to be as unbearable as a hot day in autumn. The Lord so much appreciated this natural feeling of the gopis that he declared his inability to repay their intense love. Lord Chaitanya recommended the feeling of the gopis as the highest mode of worship that can be rendered to the Lord. The conclusion is that the regular practice of bhakti yoga will lead the devotee to the plane of intense love for the Lord, and that is the single qualification by which the conditioned soul is allowed to re-enter the eternal bliss of the eternal life of bliss in the kingdom of God. The threefold miseries of material existence are at once nullified by intense love of God, which is the ultimate goal of cultivating the human spirit. Text 40. In the clear autumn sky, the twinkling stars appear brighter and brighter, just like a transcendentalist with clear vision of the purpose of the Vedas. It is said that the import of the Vedas becomes clear to one who is not only a sincere devotee of the Lord, but also a sincere servitor of the spiritual master. The spiritual master knows the purpose of the Vedas, practices it personally, and teaches the disciple of the true light of the Vedas. The supreme spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna, teaches us the import of the Vedas in the following verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Dvavimau purushau loke ksharash eva cha ksharah sarvani bhutani kutashto kshara uchyate. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every entity is called infallible. 15:16 Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says that in the Vedas it is mentioned that there are two kinds of living beings, called the fallible and the infallible. Those living beings who are materially engaged are all fallible, whereas those who are not conditioned and who are eternally situated in the spiritual realm are called akshara or infallible. The Lord then says, Uttamah purushastvanya paramatmeti udahritaha yolokatrayam avishya vipartya vyaya ishvaraha. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Lord Himself, who has entered into these worlds and is maintaining them. Bhagavad Gita 15:17. Yasmat ksharam atitoham aksharada pichottamaha atosmi loke vedecha pratita purushottamaha. Because I'm transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person. Bhagavad Gita 15:18. The import of the Vedas is still more explicitly explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The conclusion of the Vedas, of the Vedic literature, is that Lord Sri Krishna is the primeval Lord and the cause of all causes. He has his eternal two-armed form as Sundara, which with features exactly like those of a most beautiful young man, and that is the sum and substance of the Vedas concerning God. God is one, but the living entities, including both the liberated and the conditioned, are many and have many different grades of position. The living entities are never equal to God, but as parts and parcels of the Lord, they are eternally his servitors. As long as the living entities are situated normally as his servitors, they are happy. Otherwise, they are always unhappy. That is the very conclusion. Hare Krishna. Okay, anyone can read the next one. Hare Krishna, Ero Prabhu Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shla Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
This is the moon. Ribbon.
Yes, 41. In the clear sky of autumn, the beautiful moon and the beautiful stars becomes the cynosure of all eyes. Just as Lord Sri Krishna is the central attraction in the Vrishni dynasty or in the family of Yadu. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared in the family of Yadu, and since then Yadu dynasty has been luminous like the moon in autumn. The appearance and disappearance of the Lord are similar to the appearance and disappearance of the sun. The sun is first seen on the eastern horizon, but that does not mean that the sun is the sun of that side. The sun is fixed in its own orbit, and it neither rises nor sets. But because we first see it on the eastern horizon, we may say that the sun rises on that side. Similarly, the appearance of Godhead in some particular family does not mean that he is limited by obligations to that family. He is fully independent and may appear and disappear anywhere and everywhere because he is all pervading. Less intelligent persons cannot accommodate the appearance and disappearance of the Lord as an incarnation, but there is no sound reasoning to support such unbelievers. If God is all pervading like the power of electricity, he can manifest himself at any place within his creation. When he is within, we cannot see him, but when he is without, he is seen by everyone, although very few know him as he is. Everyone sees the sun every day, but that does not mean that everyone knows that what the sun actually is. Similarly, when Lord Sri Krishna was present 5,000 years ago, very few could know what he was. Anyone who comes to know him as he is becomes liberated at once, and while leaving this present body, such an knower goes back to Godhead, never to return to this universe of manifold miseries. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord confirms this as follows: Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanma neiti mam edi so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Chapter 4, 9th verse. But there are foolish persons who take him to be an ordinary man, not knowing the essence of his transcendental features. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord affirms this: Avajananti mam muda manushim tanum asritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. 42. At night in autumn, the atmosphere is pleasant because it is neither very hot nor very cold. The mild wind blowing through the gardens of fruits and flowers in Vrindavana appeared very much pleasing to all but the gopis, who were always overtaken by heartfelt sorrow in the absence of Krishna. There are two kinds of transcendental feelings for those engaged in the worship of the Lord. One is called Sambhoga and the other is called Viraha. According to authorities in the disciplic line, Viraha worship is more palatable than Sambhoga worship. Sambhoga takes place in direct touch, whereas Viraha takes place without such direct contact. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to accept Viraha worship. In the present state of affairs, we cannot make any direct touch with the personality of Godhead. But if we practice the Viraha mode of worship, we can transcendently realize the presence of the Lord more lovingly than in His presence. Without love of Godhead, there is no meaning even to direct contact. During the presence of the Lord, there were thousands and thousands of men, but because they were not in love of Godhead, they could hardly realize the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Therefore, we must first activate our dormant love of Godhead by following the prescribed rules and by following in the footsteps of the authorities who are actually fixed in love of Godhead. The gopis provide the highest example of such unalloyed love of Godhead, and Lord Chaitanya, at the ultimate stages of realization, displayed the Viraha worship in the mood of the gopis. Gopis. In the mundane world, there is also some shadow of such viraha. A loving wife, husband, or friend may for sometimes be maddened by the absence of the beloved. Such a state of mind, however, is not permanent. The loving husband or wife takes to another and forgets everything of the past. This is so because there is no reality to such relationships in the material world. The spiritual situation, however, is completely different. A bona fide lover of God could never forget him, even in exchange for everything else. The devotee of the Lord cannot be happy in any circumstance without the Lord. In the absence of the Lord, the devotee associates with him by remembering his separation. And because the Lord is absolute, the devotee's feeling of separation is transcendently more relishable than direct contact. This is possible only when we develop genuine love for him. In that state, the devotee is always with the Lord by feelings of separation, which becomes more acute and intolerable in suitable circumstances. The mild wind reminded the gopis of the association of the Lord, and they felt separation from him acutely. 43. In the autumn season, all the birds, beasts, and the men become sexually disposed, and the bull, the stag, the male bird, the man, and the other male creature forcibly impregnate the fair sex. A similar impregnation takes place as a result of devotional service to the Lord. Devotional service to the Lord never goes in vain. Just at the right moment, the result of one's particular devotional service will come, even if one has no desire for it. The pure devotee do not wish any return from the Lord in exchange for their service. They do not make business exchanges with the Lord, but the Lord, out of his own accord, fulfills all the desires of the devotees. It may appear that a devotee of the Lord is becoming poorer and poorer in terms of material prosperity, but factually, he is not. The typical example is the Pandavas. The five brothers, headed by King Yudhishthira, underwent all sorts of difficulties because of the conspiracy of their cousins, headed by Duryodhana. But in the long run, King Yudhishthira was enthroned by Lord Sri Krishna, and his enemies were vanquished. King Yudhishthira was never disturbed by all the calamities that overcame them, even though Lord Krishna was ever their companion. The Pandavas never prayed to the Lord for anything but his devotional service, and in due time, everything came out in favor of the devotees. A devotee, therefore, should execute his devotional service with full energy, endurance, and confidence. He should perform his scheduled duties. He should be pure in heart, and he should serve in association with devotees. All six of these items will lead the devotees to the path of success. One should not be discouraged in the discharge of devotional services. Failures may not be detrimental, they may be the pillars of success. One must have good faith in the regulative principles followed by the self realized souls, and one should not be doubtful about the ultimate result of such devotional service. Rather, one must go on executing his prescribed duties without hesitation, and one should never be influenced by unwanted association. We should not consider going back to Godhead a plaything. We must take it seriously, as enjoined in the scriptures. For a strict follower, the result is sure and certain, and when the time is right, the result will come of its own force. Dhruva Maharaja went to worship God to gain something, but when he actually came in contact with God, he did not want anything from the Lord. The Lord, however, awarded Dhruva Maharaj with both benefits. That is, the Lord fulfilled his desires and also gave him eternal salvation. Such are the lessons we learn from all the revealed scriptures. The Almighty God awards the results we desire, and therefore we should desire that which is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. In devotional service, we should not endeavor for that which is temporary and useless. 44. In the autumn season, all the reservoirs of water are full of lotus flowers. There are also flowers that resemble the lotus but are of different class. Among them is a flower called kumud. When the sun rises, all the flowers but the kumud blossom beautifully. Similarly, lotus-like men take care in the end of a responsible king, but men like the kumud, not like the existence of a king. In this age of Kali, the people want their own government because the kings have become corrupt. Formerly, it was not like that. The sons of kings were trained under the guidance of a good Brahmana Acharya, just as the Pandavas and the Kauravas were put under the instruction of the qualified Brahmana Professor Sri Dronacharya. Princes were rigidly trained in politics, economics, the military arts, ethics and morality, the sciences, and above all, devotional service to the Lord. Only after such good training were the princes allowed to be enthroned. When such a prince became king, then too he was guided by the advice of good Brahmanas. Even in the Middle Ages, Maharaj Chandragupta was guided by the learned Brahmana Chanakya Pandit. In a monarchy, one man sufficiently trained was competent enough to conduct alone the business of the state. But in a democracy, no one is trained like a prince. Instead, politicians are voted to responsible posts of administration by diplomatic arrangements in place of one king or supreme executive officer. In a democracy, there are so many quasi kings: the president, the ministers, the deputy ministers, the secretaries, the assistant secretaries, the private secretaries, the under secretaries, the PAs, and the MPs. There are a number of parties: political, social, and communal, and there are party whips, party whims, and so on. But no one is well enough trained to look after the factual interests of the governed. In a so called democratic government, corruption is even more rampant than in an autocracy or monarchy. Men who want to flourish in the guise of servants of the people do not want a good king at the head of the state. They are like the kumud flowers, which do not take pleasure in the sunrise. The word ku means bad and mud means pleasure. Persons who want to exploit the administrative power for their own self interest do not like the presence of a good king. Although professing democracy, they want themselves to be kings. Thus, they compete for votes by bad propaganda and take pleasure in having politics but no king. Thieves and dacoits also take no pleasure in the presence of a good king, but it is the interest of the people to have a well trained king as the head of the state. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Standat Pranam, Jai Shila Prabhupada. Who wants to continue?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. May I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, who is here? Please visit this. Oh, here is Krishna and Balaram. Is this rice?
Yeah, looks like.
Yeah, but is he like demigod? Let's see. What is? Oh, here's the price.
Okay, text 45. After the new grains were cut and brought home from the paddy fields, the people began to observe the Navan ceremony everywhere in the presence of the Lord as Krishna and Baladev.
Yes, they were doing some ceremony.
Yeah. According to Vedic culture, learned men consider all natural products such as food grains, fruits, flowers, and milk to be God-sent. No one can manufacture these things in man-made factories, however scientifically advanced people may be. People can make preparations of such God-sent foodstuffs, but they cannot manufacture the natural ingredients. Spiritually cultured men, therefore, feel obliged to the Lord when they get sufficient natural foodstuffs by the grace of the Lord. The Navana Prashana ceremony is observed as a way of acknowledging the gifts of God. Newly collected grains would first be offered to the Lord by the villagers, either individually or collectively, and in either case, all the members of the village would partake of the prasadam thus offered to the Lord. Such ceremonies make the people happy and prosperous. We should always acknowledge the mercy of God. We should not think that we can produce ample food grains merely with the help of tractors and fertilizers. These can help us only as instruments for such production. Without the sanction of the Lord, there is no possibility of having grains, even if there are trucks and fertilizers. When Lord Krishna and Baladev were present, the good men of Vrindavan realized that it was due to the presence of the Lord that their supply of food grains were sufficient. Some of the people of Vrindavan, including Lord Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, used to perform sacrifices to propitiate King Indra, the king of heaven, because he is the controller of rains. Without good rains, grains cannot be produced, and therefore the people would offer sacrifice to Indra. Lord Shri Krishna, however, stopped this age-old ceremony and advised his father to offer the same sacrifice to the Supreme Lord. His purpose was to teach that we need not satisfy the various demigods in charge of the various departments of cosmic affairs. Instead, we must offer sacrifices to the Supreme Lord, for the Lord is the master and all others are his servants. The famous Anukuta ceremony performed in Vrindavan especially, and also in all other parts of India, was thus introduced by the Lord, and people still follow this path by worshipping Govardhan Hill, where the Lord used to take pleasure in tending cows. People also worship Giri Govardhan as identical with the Lord, because there is no difference between God and his paraphernalia and pastimes. Text 46. The merchants, preachers, kings, and students who were confined to home during the 4 months, June, July, August, and September, began to flow out and attain success in life, just as perfected souls attain the required body as soon as they leave the present one. The people in general, especially the merchants, preachers, kings, and students, are advised not to leave home during the 4 months of the rainy season. These 4 months are known as Chaturmasya, and for everyone there are specific rules for observing this period, partly for the sake of health and partly for spiritual realization. During this period, the merchants cannot do free business, dedicated souls like sannyasis cannot freely preach the doctrines of the Vedas, kings cannot go out to tour their states, and students cannot go to their schools, which are closed. But after the Chaturmasya period, they all get the freedom to go out and perform their respective duties, and by doing so, they can achieve the results they desire. In the same way, one cannot achieve the desired results of one's penances until one attains freedom from the present body. There are various ways to practice the various kinds of yoga to attain various results in various spheres of life. It is not that everything is the same. There are varieties of life, varieties of planet, and varieties of success and spiritual realization. And all these can be achieved only when we have finished the Chaturmasya-like period of life. It is a foolish imagination, therefore, that we can go to other planets in the present body. If we want to go to Devaloka, the planets of the demigods, we must achieve the required qualification, and the same is true if we want to go back to the kingdom of God. If we want to remain on this planet in some better condition of life, that also will depend on the required achievements. In any case, those achievements can be fulfilled just after one leaves the body. The merchants, preachers, kings, and students form the 4 important sections of human society. The merchants should see that everyone gets his proper share of the food given as a gift by God. The sannyasi preachers should go from door to preach the sense of God consciousness, not to build mathas and temples, but to enlighten the people. The king should go out from his home to see with his own eyes how things are going on. Maharaj Parikshit, while on tour, saw a man, Kali, attempting to kill a cow, so the king at once punished him. And students should gather knowledge wherever it is available. The combined work of these 4 sections is meant for the general welfare of society.
Oh, what is this?
Able.
Are these spiritual planets?
Yeah. Looks like. There's a similar picture in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I believe. Okay, text 47. From the transcendence, which is called Krishna Loka, there emanates a glowing effulgence that resembles the tail of a comet. This glowing effulgence is unlimited, immeasurable, and unfathomable. Within this effulgence, there are innumerable glowing planets, each of them self-luminous. Somewhere, a limited part of that glowing effulgence is covered by material energy, thus, just as a part of the sky is covered by a cloud. Within this material energy, there are innumerable universes. In every universe, there are innumerable material planets, and the Earth is one of these planets. Thus, we can understand what an insignificant part of the entire cosmos is this globe on which we live. Yeah, anyone can continue next, actually. I read a lot. Able.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So who wants to be next one?
I can continue.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Hare.
Yeah, Guru Hari Bol. आप continue कीजिए. Please continue.
Oh yes, sorry. I'm not at home, so I have to.
Yeah.
Okay, Krishna Loka, as above mentioned, is the residence of the personality of Godhead, the original transcendence. The glowing effulgence emanating from Krishna Loka is the personal glow of the Lord. The Almighty Lord, being full of inconceivable energies, expands himself in various forms and energies. There are forms from his energy as well as forms from his person. He has innumerable energies, and therefore he can do anything and everything as he desires, and these things take place immediately with all perfection. His energies are like the heat and light that expand from a fire. The entire cosmic manifestation is nothing but an expansion of his energies. The energies are emanations from him, and therefore the emanations are simultaneously one with and different from him. The transcendence is compared to milk, and the emanations are compared to curd. Curd is nothing but milk, but at the same time it is different from milk. Curd is a milk preparation, but it cannot be used in place of milk. The Lord is also sometimes compared to a tree. The root of tree is the cause of the trunk, branches, twigs, leaves, and fruits. If the trunk is not the fruit is not the leaf, nor is the leaf the root. When water is needed, it has to be poured on the root, not on the leaves. Pouring water on the leaves serves no purpose, but pouring water on the root serves all purposes. This is the essence of the philosophy of spiritual culture. Krishna Loka is also called Goloka Vrindavana. Beneath this Goloka are Haridama, Mahesha Dhamma, and Devi Dhamma. Hari Vishnu Narayana is the formal expansion of the Lord. Mahesha Shiva is the formal energetic expansion of the Lord, and Devi is the Lord's energetic expansion. The living entities are also energetic expansions of the Lord. There are two different kinds of living entities called the liberated souls and the conditioned souls. The planets within the glowing effulgence are called Haridama. On these planets, the predominating deity is Hari, and the predominated deities are the liberated souls. The features of the liberated souls and those of Hari are almost the same, yet Hari is predominator and the liberated souls are predominated. The innumerable planets in Haridharma are predominated by different formal expansions of the Lord, and all of them have different names. The universes within the material energy are called Devi Dharma, and within Devi Dharma, the predominating deity is Vishnu, who is assisted by Brahma and Shiva. Devi Dharma is controlled by three modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. Vishnu is the incarnation of goodness, Brahma of passion, and Shiva of ignorance. Brahma creates, Vishnu maintains, and Shiva destroys the material creation. The material creation comes into being by the will of the Lord, and it is again annihilated by his will. But although the universes of the material energy are thus created and annihilated, the planets in Haridharma are ever existent. The conditioned living entities who wish to enjoy and not serve are given a chance within Devi Dhamma to seek liberation. Some of them enter Haridharma, some of them enter Maheshadharma, and some of them remain within Devi Dhamma. Maheshadharma is the marginal place between Haridharma and Devi Dhamma. The impersonalists who want to merge into the existence of the transcendence are placed within Maheshadharma. Those who want to remain within the planetary systems of the material universes do so on various planets, but those who want to go outside the material energy can enter Haridharma and go either to the various planets there or directly to Krishna Loka. The system of Bhakti Yoga makes one eligible to enter Haridharma, the system of Jnana Yoga makes one eligible to enter Maheshadharma, and the system of Karma Yoga obliges one to remain in Devi Dharma and repeatedly be born and die, changing his material covering according to the standard of karma he performs. Hare Krishna. Does someone else want to continue?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, 48. The moon or Chandraloka is one of the four important places of residences for the demigods. Beyond Manasa Lake is Sumeru Mountain. On the eastern side of this mountain is the planet Devadani, where Indra resides. On the southern side is the planet known as Samyamani, where Yamaraj resides. On the western side is the planet known as Nimlochati, the residence of Vayu, the demigod who controls the wind. And on the northern side of the mountain is the moon, which is also known as Vibhavari. All these various planets are within the universe in which our planet is situated. Persons who are too materialistic always engage in sense enjoyment. Such persons worship the material demigods and goddesses to fulfill their material desires. They are fond of performing many yagnas to propitiate the various demigods and the forefathers in heaven. Such persons are automatically promoted to the moon, where they enjoy soma, a celestial beverage. The moon is too cold for the inhabitants of this earth, and therefore ordinary persons who want to go there with earthly bodies are attempting to do so in vain. Merely seeing the moon from a distance of 80,000 miles cannot enable one to understand the real situation of the moon. One has to cross Manasa Lake and then Sumaru Mountain, and only then one can trace out the orbit of the moon. Yeah, I highly doubt they went with their machine to Manasa Lake or the Sumeru Mountain.
Yeah, impossible.
Besides that, no ordinary man is allowed to enter that planet. Yeah, even if they could go there, would they be let there like openly? If you go here to Russia without anything, they won't let you in.
Yeah, just like now, we cannot, for example, you and me, travel freely.
Yeah.
What speak of other planets?
Yeah, why would they just let the come in, you early-bodied person, come here. Here is your land, grow some vegetables. They don't.
Yeah.
Even those admitted after death must have performed the prescribed duties to satisfy the Pitas and Devas, yet even they are sent back to Earth after fixed duration of life on the moon. Yeah, they just have a longer moon mission. They're just longer and then they come back. Man with developed consciousness, therefore, do not waste time making excursions, real or imaginary, to the moon. Such intelligent persons do not endeavor to achieve temporary sense enjoyment. Rather, they apply their conserved energy for the sake of spiritual cultivation. They discharge religious duties for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, and not for personal sense enjoyment. The signs of such expectational devotees of the Lord are that they are unattached to material enjoyment, contented, pure in heart, attached to devotional service, free from affection for temporary things, and devoid of false ego. According to Vedic injunctions, such a great personalities ultimately attain the place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead predominates, and where there is no death, no birth, no old age, and no disease. On the way to these spiritual planets, such personalities pass through the sun line called Archir Marga, and on the way they can see all the planets between here and the spiritual world. Yeah, this was interesting information. I've never heard this before about this Archir Marga sun line.
Interesting.
And this question was asked from Sundar Gopal Prabhu, that when the soul goes to spiritual world, does the soul like directly like transform, or does it like go and you see the paths? Or this question was asked, and Sundar Gopal Prabhu explained about how the Vimana comes and it's boarded, and he showed examples like this. So
yeah, I read somewhere like that.
Yeah, this is also one more example that here it is direct to say that on the way they can see all the planets between here and the spiritual world.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it's very similar to the cover of the first canto, where the spiritual world.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, that's true. Oh, this is the same picture.
Yeah.
Or was it?
What is it? Is this the end?
Yeah, I think. Was that the last one?
Yeah, we can read actually. What is this?
Yeah, here is the artist who made these pictures. Madame Li Yansheng was born in the city of Tianjin in Hebei, China in 1924. Her interest in painting began in early childhood, and she studied under Mr. Chen Xiaomei, an accomplished artist, before graduating from Peking's Central Academy of Arts in 1950. Subsequently, she worked as a graphic designer, but her reputation as an artist spread quickly, and in 1959 she was elected a member of the Chinese Painting Research Institute. The paintings in this book bear the most recent witness to her excellence in the traditional Gongbi painting school style. They are a culmination of a remarkable career, during which her paintings were highly acclaimed by celebrated Chinese artist Xu Beihong, and extensively exhibited by the Chinese government both inside and outside of China. When she left China for Hong Kong in 1979, she was unable to take any of her paintings with her, because by the time they were considered part of the Chinese art treasury. Since then, Hong Kong public has enjoyed exhibitions of her paintings at Shatin Municipal Hall and Star House at Shim Cha Tsui. Her work has also been the topic of several newspaper and magazine articles. The Gongbi style is very intricate in its finely detailed description of Chinese figures and scenery. As can be seen from the meticulous career and labor in Madame Li's work, it is only after a lifetime of practice and experience that she has acquired such a skillful hand. Now she is dedicating much of her time to teaching students who are interested in learning and preserving this fine painting tradition, of which he is one of the few remaining masters. I hope she's chanting also.
Yes.
It would be nice if they explained how they find her and how they got her to paint this.
I expected that actually.
Yeah.
Where is the next?
Okay, let's read this one.
It's
This is the
basically
yeah, this is the age of darkness and quarrels. So naturally, there is no idea of spiritual life. People are busy only in taking care of their temporary material body and its relationships, such as wife, children, and friends. They do not believe, or what is more unfortunate, they have not even heard of it. In Kali Yuga, there is no knowledge. There is only the struggle to exist, to eat and sleep. The unique characteristic of a human being is that he can speak, whereas animals cannot. Therefore, we find books in human society. Books are the essence of speech. We do not find books. This was nice. Books are the essence of speech. Yeah, this I need to remember. This is nice because we do not find books in any other species of life. Nor do we find religion in any other species of life. The books of religion, known as the Vedic literature, are the original books of knowledge in human society and have been preserved in Sanskrit language. Practically speaking, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has unlocked the treasure house of Vedic wisdom by translating the most essential of these books, such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, into the English language. We invite all interested to read and learn more about Vedic literatures by posting inquiries to any other following addresses. Oh, see here we have Singapore.
Yeah, Malaysia.
It's nice. Haribo. Here's some words.
Yeah, this glossary actually is also nice. Sometimes I go there and find something interesting when you forget something.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a really nice book. Here was many new things that I've never heard said in the particular way that it was said here. This really nice picture, this one. I like the colors of the peacock.
Yeah.
Okay, Haribo, so maybe next time we will start Bhagavad Gita, or I need to search again the book list. But I would like to read Bhagavad Gita soon because I've been waiting for it long time. Okay, now let's go to six Astakam prayers. चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावादूजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नाम्नामकारि बहुधानि च सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन काला एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशाम् इहाजनिनानुरागा
Pirnadapi Sunichana Tarorapi Sahishnana Amanina Manadana Kirtanyekha Sada Harihim.
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
अयि नन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय
Nainam Galada Shudharaya Vadanam Gadgada Rudhaya Gira Pulakari Nishtam Vapuhu Kada Tavanama Garhani Bhavishyati.
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रविश्य इतं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्द विरहेण मे
आश्रित्य वा पादरतां पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनां मर्महदां करोतु वा यदा तदा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It encourages the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end with the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Hare Krishna. Sri Siksastakam ki jai. Harinam
Jai.
Jai.
ki jai.
Jai,
Prabhu ki jai.
Jai,
Chaitanya
Jai.
Mahaprabhu
Jai,
jai. Jagat Guru
Jai.
Sri Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura
Jai.
Prem. Hri
Hari.
Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.